Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to why nobody lives in Wyoming, and I think it's one of the least populated US states, and it's pretty big. I mean, I think it's a massive state. I don't know how big it is, but I think it's one of the bigger ones for sure. In terms of the population, I don't know what the density, other than Alaska, I think it's the least, I'm assuming it's the least densely populated state in the US, bar Alaska. I could be wrong with that, but we're going to check this out and see why that's the case, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon where you can see reactions that I can't post to YouTube. And yeah, let's check this out.
Did you know that Wyoming has the smallest population of any US state? Well, it does.
Oh, it's the smallest. I knew it was one of the least densely populated. I didn't know if it was the smallest or the least populated.
In fact, the whole state of Wyoming has a population that is 14 times smaller than just the city of New York, 7 times smaller than Los Angeles, and 5 times smaller than Chicago. Now, some states have small populations simply because of their landmass is so limited, and yet the nation's smallest states of Rhode Island and Delaware still offer populations that are more than double Wyoming's. And Wyoming is the 10th largest state by area anyway, so its tiny population of 578,000 residents, the smallest population of any US state by far, seems almost ridiculous for a state that is about 11 times larger than New Jersey. The area we now know as Wyoming was first inhabited by Native Americans thousands of years ago. However, Wyoming's history as part of America officially started when the Wyoming Territory was carved out of Utah, Delaware, and Idaho back in 1868. With much of Wyoming's landmass being initially acquired by the United States as part of the Louisiana Purchase. See, Wyoming is a part of the American West, and it was also included in the famous Oregon Trail, which played a major role in establishing the west coast of the United States. However, Wyoming didn't become a U.S. state until July 20th, 1890. Believe it or not, limited population was actually the reason it took so long for Wyoming to be granted statehood back then. That's because the U.S. government required at least 60,000 residents for territories to become states. So it wasn't until Joseph Carey, Wyoming's delegate at the time, overstated the territory's population that Wyoming was able to convince Congress to make it the 44th state of America. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why Wyoming has always struggled with its population, and frankly, I think there are several reasons the cowboy state has always had such limited population size.
I mean, it's in the mountain ranges. It's near Yellowstone, of course. Well, Yellowstone's in Wyoming, isn't it? Yeah, so I mean, there's obviously factors there that part of it is just you can't live there, it's not possible. And then I guess some states nearby just have bigger opportunities and stuff, right?
See, the thing is, Wyoming never attracted significant settlement in the beginning because it had a difficult climate and complicated geography, as Wyoming is a dry state with harsh, cold and snowy winters and rugged mountainous terrain, and also, from the very beginning, the US government, energy and railroad companies held major portions of the usable land there. So after more than a century of existing as a state with limited settlement and city building, the state of Wyoming had become more of a pass-through and resource center than a residential destination. Because sure, there are people who want to live in nature with incredible scenery and grand open spaces. However, the majority of Americans seem to prefer access to amenities, attractions, and opportunities. And even the biggest city in the state of Wyoming, Cheyenne, has a very modest population of 65,000 residents and very few amenities, attractions, or opportunities. We will talk more about Cheyenne in just a moment, but keep in mind that the state's other big cities are even smaller. Casper has 58,000 residents, Gillette has 32,000 residents, and Laramie, the state's 4th largest city,
Damn, they are small cities as well.
has just 31,000 residents.
I wonder how far they are from each other.
Back to Cheyenne, with a metropolitan population of 100,000 residents, it isn't just the state's largest city, it's also the capital of Wyoming. And Cheyenne is a charmingly safe city with low unemployment and more economic opportunity than anywhere else in the state. It's even the home of Taco John's, Greenhouse Data, and the Sierra Trading Post. Cheyenne has a median household income of $68,000 and a median home price of $369,000. In fact, Cheyenne is growing at a rate of about 2% each year, easily above the national average.
Okay.
Now, while Cheyenne is growing at a healthy rate, the state of Wyoming on the whole is hardly growing at all. Which makes little sense when you consider that Wyoming has no state income tax, a growing energy employment sector, and Wyoming has become a major tourism destination thanks to its world-renowned skiing, hiking, and kayaking. to a point where most of Yellowstone National Park, America's very first national park, is located in the state of Wyoming, which furthers the state's draw to visitors looking for an escape from the congestion and crowding of big cities.
See, there's a pro to this, right? Because just because it's not highly populated and whatever doesn't change the fact that people who live there probably love that. I mean, people from the big cities or the highly populated states will come here because it's a sense of, I guess, freedom and just not being cramped and the stresses of city life and major city, like big city life as well. So, I mean, I know it's sort of, I don't know if it's seen as a negative that it's not highly populated, but it's sort of seen as like it's just pointed out, the least populated state in the US, it's not a bad thing at all. It gives you a lot of benefits. And there's still cities to a decent level that you can go to if you need or if you want. But they're not too big to the point where it's like, okay, I'm overwhelmed here. So, it's definitely not a negative. It's just a fascinating sort of thing, right? Because it's a big state, a very big state.
Now, another thing to keep in mind about Wyoming's limited population size, though, is that the state isn't exactly begging for new residents either.
There we go.
As Wyoming is one of the few states running at a surplus, with billions of dollars held in rainy day funds and an energy economy that keeps growing. While the people of Wyoming also seem quite content with all the extra space and the relaxed pace of life there. Something that can only really exist in places like Wyoming, where there are just 5.85 people per square mile.
Flipping out.
You don't go west to compromise or make yourself more comfortable. No, you don't go west to settle down or hurry up or draw a crowd, because the truth lies west, and it's time to discover yours.
Okay, I guess that was just a little look into Wyoming. Beautiful place, by the way. I mean, it looks, like this one says, wild, open, and free. And I feel like for the people there, that's exactly what they want. The open space, laid back people, and emptiness of Wyoming is a big part of why I love it. I remember visiting my friend on the Air Force Base in Cheyenne. It was surreal to see just how truly empty and vast the state was the minute you got outside the city limits. My family lived in Cheyenne when I was in kindergarten, first and second grade. When we'd go on camping trips, we could see thousands of stars in the night sky. It's because of the light pollution, right? If there's no lights to pollute, that's how it works, right? Because there's not much light pollution around, you can see the sky a lot brighter. Is that how it works? I think it is, right? It wasn't until later that I realised that you can't see it in many other places because of the smog. Okay, light pollution, yeah. And I mean, there's nothing better than seeing the full night sky with the stars and stuff. Like, nothing beats that, honestly. But hopefully you enjoy this reaction. And if you're from Wyoming, let me know if you love it or if you don't. But I'm assuming you will love it. If you're still staying there, I think it's for the people that will stay in Wyoming will just absolutely love it. And obviously the people that will travel there will love it. Is it one of the not highest? Well, Yellowstone's probably the most famous national park. Or is it? I mean, you've got the Grand Canyon. It's got to be like top 3 most famous destinations for tourists to come to in the US. And that must bring a lot of money to the state as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed. And until next time, peace.